Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Welcome to Harrisburg's newest open green space. What a transformation. I don't know when all of you were here last, but this space has been completely transformed. It has been a major undertaking, and I am extremely thankful to all of our partners at the federal, state, county, and local level, many of whom are here today, and I will be introducing shortly. First, just a little bit of history. In March of 2014, that long ago, a sinkhole developed in the area right behind me that affected what was 53 homes. Now, at the time I got that call, you have to remember the city was still in receivership. We were on the brink of bankruptcy. I had inherited a budget with a massive budget deficit. We were, in some cases, years behind in our bills, and it was extremely unclear whether or not we were going to be able to make it as a city financially. And when I first heard of the sinkhole, I thought, oh my, what type of a Pandora's box are we opening here? How much is this going to cost? And I raced over to the site, and in subsequent meetings over the course of many weeks, I learned the stories of the residents. I understood their hopes, their concerns, the impact here, and I was inspired. And we resolved at that time collectively, all of us, to do what we could to mitigate this very dangerous and impactful situation. And the first thing that we did, and I want to thank Harrisburg City Council, especially Council President Wanda Williams, who's not here with us this morning, but we worked as city government officials to release emergency funds to be able to conduct the engineering assessment of the underlying geology, so that we could really know the impact of what we were dealing with, and potentially develop a plan which would mitigate the problem and get a sense of what the costs would be. City Council worked swiftly. We approved an initial study. Gannett Fleming came out. We used state-of-the-art technology, and we realized just how dire the situation was, but we also were able to map the fissures and develop a plan. We still didn't have any money. And at that point, I want to specifically acknowledge our former Economic Development Director, Jackie Parker, who is here with us. We resolved as a city that we were going to bring attention to this issue and try and begin the beating drum for funding by hosting what at the time was a first anywhere, which was a sinkhole summit. And we did this downtown. I still remember on the day being very nervous, making sure that all of our partners would come. I remember Representative Perry arriving and being relieved that he was able to make it and put it on his schedule. We brought in specialists from around the country. We shared stories. I got a chance to sit with many of the affected families. And we began to really make a case for why we needed to have federal funding cover pre-disaster sinkhole mitigation. And we were able, and I think this is one of the most amazing aspects of the story, we were able to basically change federal policy on the national level, something very difficult to do, through collective work, hard work, and lobbying, to allow for the first time ever for sinkhole mitigation to be covered with that funding. And by releasing that funding, that started a wave of matches and other pledges, which eventually got us to the total dollar amount that we needed. That's an extraordinary accomplishment. It also has the ability to benefit other communities and other parts of the United States for decades to come. And it all started right here in Harrisburg, something to be very proud of. So I want to thank all of our project partners that allowed the city to acquire the affected homes, help relocate the residents and tenants, secure this site, and turn it into the green space that you see behind us. A special shout out and appreciation to Mount Olive Baptist Church. Not only did they host many of our community meetings over the course of the past several years, but they've even provided the chairs for us today, and they've been a real centerpiece of the community spirit in this neighborhood, and I want to thank them. Harrisburg is a part of its funding did, as I said, receive $1.65 million from FEMA for this sinkhole mitigation project. Let's start with them. I am pleased to invite Steve Ward, who is the Federal Coordinating Officer at FEMA, to begin here with some remarks.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the behalf of Mary Ann Tierney, who is the Regional Administrator in Philadelphia for FEMA Region 3, congratulations. What you have accomplished here is amazing. As the Mayor said, this is the first ever opportunity that FEMA has been able to take a situation like this and mitigate what we're referring to as a sinkhole. That takes vision and it takes perseverance. The vision is being able on that dark day when you came out and kicked the ground and said, "Ooh, what is this?" to take it all the way through, as the Mayor alluded to, the fact that this project changed national policy. There is now a sinkhole mitigation policy at the national level, and others have come here to witness what you have done here through the partnership of the many people that have worked very, very hard. And that's where the perseverance comes in. You persevered through the first no. The first time you came to us, we said no, but you persevered and came up with a way to convince us that this is necessary. Lastly, I'd like to be able to thank the families that were involved. FEMA typically sees survivors on the worst day of their lives. They've just lost everything, or they are trying to put together their lives and their homes and start back on that recovery plan. And this is a perfect example of the community coming together and helping those families to start that recovery and make something out of that worst day that they faced. Again, congratulations on the excellent work and the partnership and the collaboration that has occurred. And again, on behalf of Mary Ann Tierney, congratulations. Thank you.
Yes, extraordinary, and extraordinary to think that we've actually had bus loads of people from across the country come tour the site at various stages of the progress, and are looking to Harrisburg as an example for potential mitigation projects that they can do in their own communities as well. We also appreciate our friends at PEMA for their immense support and assistance. And right from the beginning, Tom Hughes, who is the State Hazard Mitigation Officer at PEMA, was there at our side, attending the meetings in the church and pledging his support and his agency's support for this project. So, Tom, I turn it over to you.
I brought some notes with me because it's pretty cold out. Okay, on behalf of the PEMA Director, Randy Padfield, and as the State Hazard Mitigation Officer for PEMA, I just want to thank our federal partners in FEMA and HUD, our state partners in DCED, Dauphin County, and City of Harrisburg, and a lot of the contractor support in making this sinkhole happen. This is a very difficult project. As was stated earlier, this is the first sinkhole approved and completed under FEMA's pre-disaster mitigation program. With the help of legislators, FEMA came out with a sinkhole policy, as was mentioned by FEMA, which allowed this project to be placed in a 2015 pre-disaster mitigation project application period. In addition, this is the first time that FEMA partnered with HUD and DCED to provide cost share to a FEMA Hazard Mitigation Assistance Grant, and that's big, which has really worked out well. The project wasn't without stressful moments, but we had a team that got it done. The city and county were instrumental in working with Navarro and Wright and Capital Access to provide the acquisition, uniform relocation assistance, demolition, and site restoration activity payments requests when needed. I can't say enough about our PEMA grants and mitigation staff on really rolling up their sleeves to assist in the various time crunches, and there were many in this project. Don Enrico and Dave Gray with DCD and our agency during this period actually developed a buyout handbook that is now being used by other states around the country. And Mayor Pavafus, thanks for pushing the sinkhole eligibility issue where it needed to go after the sinkhole summit a few years ago with legislators in the federal government. As was stated earlier, this policy is being used nationwide, and sinkholes are appearing. Disaster funds don't always return folks to whole, but it does assist the affected disaster survivors to be the homeowners and the renters with options to move on from, particularly this one, a precarious situation. It should be noted that some renters took advantage of the Uniform Relocation Assistance funding and put those funds towards another home in a safer environment. Thank you for allowing FEMA to bring the state hazard mitigation officers and the state National Flood Insurance Program personnel attending the Emergency Management Institute's Hazard Mitigation Assistance annual workshop to come here and City Island to observe the operations on these grounds and floodproofing measures on the island. Really got some good kudos from those folks from across the country. And there is a reason that the city is in FEMA's community rating system. Okay, they do look at higher standards here. We applaud your resilience efforts. This site will allow folks to reflect on local memories in what is now an open space to be used for generations to come. And for the team, I know I'm going to miss our monthly meetings, but I'm sure there are other resilience projects we will be working on in the future. Thank you.
It's always another reason.
Thank you. Yes. It really is extraordinary the level of cooperation that we had on every level of government. You've got the federal government, you've got the state level, you've got the county level, you've got the city level. This project would not work if any one of those pieces had not been willing to work with the other. So we had collaboration with both emergency management agencies on the state and federal level, but we needed a match. And the PA Department of Community and Economic Development, DCED, provided that local match. And it was in two phases. First, $550,000, and then an additional $3 million for the second phase. That money came through HUD, Housing and Urban Development on the federal level, and I want to invite up Richard Vallejo, who is the Deputy Secretary for Community Affairs and Development, to also offer his remarks.
It's a pleasure for me to be here today. We don't always get to cut a ribbon when we've filled a sinkhole and worked as a partner. But it is a special day because our role at DCD and at the department is to help communities through tough times, through difficult times. We've been a partner with Harrisburg through the Act 47 process and on the road to recovery and on the road through this project. It's not often that I get to say this project wouldn't have happened without DCD's participation with FEMA, with HUD. I want to recognize two staff people that are here. Kathy Possinger, raise your hand. Donna Enrico, raise your hand. And David Gray, who's not here. And Secretary Dennis Davin. Tom mentioned that the first response we got was no. It wasn't just one no, it was no, 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 no. And Secretary Davin wouldn't take no for an answer. We were in a meeting in a conference room in the Keystone building, and he just said, this project is going to happen, we're going to do this. It needs to happen. And I was really happy when we were standing here and we saw some of the residents that were affected by this here today, because this makes a difference. You know, it makes a difference in a community. It's now green space. And seeing Jackie Parker here, you know, us former mayors understand the mayor's plight, and you know, the trouble and the difficulty of getting things like this done. So, and persevering through the no, 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 and saying we have to, we have to, we have to. And you know, working with people like Kathy and Donna and making a difference in the lives of families all across Pennsylvania. So on behalf of Secretary Davin and Governor Wolf, it's a real pleasure to be part of a project that gets done, and congratulations.
Thank you, DCED. You have been at the city's side, assisting us through the hardest times up to the present, and we are greatly appreciative. And there is no question that without this complex web of funding, this project would not have been possible. I also want to acknowledge our senator for the district. We appreciate Senator DeSanto's support for Harrisburg. Even this past week, he tirelessly advocated for a multimodal funding grant, which is going to help us moving forward. That's $500,000 for additional transportation projects. And I wanted to give Senator DeSanto an opportunity to make some remarks.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. This project did not start on my watch, but it's finishing on my watch, and I want to thank the mayor for inviting me here for this. This was one of the issues when I was running for election that was concerning to me. After spending 35 years in the construction business, I couldn't understand how it could take this long to get a hole filled. But as I met with the mayor and we developed a working relationship, I understood the complexity, and I want to thank him for his leadership in changing federal policy. That is no easy task, as you can imagine. And I also was glad to hear him recognize Mount Olive Baptist Church, because, you know, the faith-based institutions are still the anchors of our community, and we need to do everything we can to support them. And it's nice when they support people in their need. I'm happy that the residents and homeowners have been able to move on as best as they can. The FEMA people said, you know, it's just like the police. Rarely do you interact with them unless there's a problem, and it's nice for them to be here. So I was happy to lend what support I could, and it's nice to see a beautiful park for the residents in the area, and I just wish everyone good luck moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, as you can see, this effort required an incredible amount of cooperation. There are other people here today that I want to acknowledge. I want to acknowledge Larissa Bailey from Senator Toomey's office, Sandra Garcia from Senator Casey's office, Angel Fox from Representative Kim's office, Jay Ostrich from Congressman Perry's office, and I want to thank all of our elected leaders for their bipartisan support for this project. Let's give all of those leaders a round of applause. Special thanks also to Navarro and Wright and Craig Bachek for standing by at many a meeting, really tirelessly answering all the questions that would come forward and explaining the process. Rieger and Adler, notably Susan Confair for her patience and all the closings and settlements and working with each of the homeowners. Capital Access for their hard work in terms of relocation. And for everyone's involvement to this process. A special thank you as well to certain members of our city staff. I want to acknowledge Aaron Johnson, our Public Works Director, who is a neighbor and has tirelessly worked to watch over this area. Thank you, Aaron. Whether it was addressing neighbors' concerns about trash or illegal dumping or security, or even watching over this beautiful new space moving forward, Aaron has been there from the beginning, recognizing its importance. I want to thank Rebecca Vollmer, who is our grants administrator, who somehow managed to keep track of all these numbers and make sure that we were in compliance with every dollar that was received and spent. That was a full-time job. I don't know if she knew she was going to do that when she was hired, but right, it's taken up most of her life, I think, for the last bit of time. Thank you, Rebecca. And Wayne Martin, our city engineer, who worked with the engineers and has been instrumental in all of the construction and demolition and planning right from the start. Couldn't have done it without them and without many others, and I already acknowledged Jackie Parker. Most importantly, though, I want to acknowledge the residents whose lives I know were altered tremendously by this project. I hope you've been able to find comfort in your new places that you live, and I hope that this area will bring a sense of, today will bring both a sense of closure, and in the future this area will be a time of remembrance of all of the happy times that many of you had in this neighborhood. We are now zoned to green space. Nothing will ever be built upon this. The trees will begin to grow. The park will fill out. Families and children will use it as time goes by. A couple quick facts. We have 2.4 acres behind us. The trail is deliberately made with sort of pervious stone dust so that the water can pass through it. And there will be a plaque here, which will be a sort of permanent memorial to the neighborhood that was radically transformed via the sinkhole. And I thought today we could unveil it, although it's not the final project. We have the ability to do that. So if I could call up Wayne Martin to assist me, and if we could dramatically unveil the plaque for all of you, we will. Okay, we're going to just pull it. I think we're going to pull it over the top. All right, maybe I think a little dramatic countdown from 3. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Hey! And what I like most about this is that it is designed over an original photo of what the neighborhood looked like. It describes it has photographic evidence of the sinkhole, but it also sort of walks through the development phases. It thanks the partners, and it will talk for the future a little bit about the history of the South 14th Street neighborhood and what occurred here. So this will be memorialized for generations to come. So with that, I believe we'd like to conclude by inviting the residents to come up and join us and have everybody sort of gather around the plaque, and we'd like to do a group photo. Good. Will you all come, please? And all the rest of the partners, please come on up.